Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something, well, I think pretty universal. It's that tension, isn't it? Between wanting to keep it all together, maintain control, and then that other part, the need to just be, to be present with whatever's actually happening inside.
Yeah.
We build these walls, this armor.
It's a tightrope walk, absolutely. And I think what's really key here is understanding that this drive for control, it isn't some kind of personal failing. It's actually often a really smart strategy.
Learned, but it's vile.
Exactly. It worked at some point. It probably kept us safe. So today, our mission, if you like, is to really unpack the logic behind that control. Why do we do it? And importantly, what's the cost? And maybe find a way towards something more authentic, more present.
I want to start right there with that cost, because it hits hardest, I think, in those quiet moments, when you're alone.
Yeah.
Maybe standing at the kitchen sink after everyone's gone to bed, or just staring out the window. The performance of the day is kind of over. And you finally let your shoulders drop just for a second, and bam, you feel it. The sheer weight of everything you've been holding.
That physical tension.
Yeah, and the mental loops, the stuff you haven't processed.
And that's often when the internal alarm goes off, right? That protector part jumps in.
Instantly.
You feel that familiar tightening, maybe a knot under your ribs, or your jaw clenches, and the voice inside is sharp. It's like, nope, snuff that. Not now, not here. You don't have time for this feeling.
That's it. You cannot afford to feel this. I wonder if that's the real hallmark of being stuck in control. That belief that feeling the exhaustion or the disappointment or, the need, it wouldn't just be uncomfortable.
No, it feels like annihilation.
Yeah. Like you'd shatter, like total irreversible failure is waiting right behind that feeling.
Precisely. We're not just guarding against a bad mood, we're guarding against what feels like absolute catastrophe.
And this control thing, it's not random, it gets baked into who we think we are.
Yeah.
Our identity.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're listening, maybe you recognize yourself here. You're probably the calm one or the fixer.
Right, the reliable one, the one everyone counts on to hold the emotional space for them.
You've kind of taken on that role, the rock. The pillar.
And that role, well, it demands suppression, doesn't it? We learned somewhere along the way, maybe in our families or through a really painful rejection or a loss, that softness felt dangerous, that vulnerability wasn't met with, kindness or an understanding. It was met with judgment, maybe abandonment or just pain.
So the internal logic becomes, if I show my softness, my need, I'm basically inviting rejection. If I admit I'm struggling, people will think I'm incompetent.
Or weak.
Or weak, yeah. And the core fear underneath is like, if I actually cry, nobody will be there to catch me. Or maybe worse, they'll just scatter, leave me alone with it.
And that core belief that vulnerability is a liability, it dictates this whole complex dance of self-management. We develop all these methods, often unconsciously, to keep that controlled identity intact.
Relentless methods. Like, think about the little things we do every day. Carefully managing your breath before you walk into a tough meeting.
Yeah. Or rehearsing conversations in your head, trying to anticipate every possible emotional reaction so you can manage it up front.
Or flattening your tone of voice when you're talking about something that actually really upsets you.
Yes.
Making it sound like no big deal.
And the really subtle ones too, like smiling when you feel like screaming inside.
Oh, that one's huge. Or, and this is maybe the sneakiest one, saying yes when your whole body, your whole being is just screaming no.
Yes. To keep the peace.
To keep the peace, or to be liked, or to not cause trouble. You just swallow the word, swallow the feeling, swallow your own truth.
And that constant swallowing, that negotiation, that's where so much of the exhaustion comes from. It's an incredible amount of energy just going into maintaining the facade. It's not sustainable.
No way. And that energy, it has to go somewhere, right? It doesn't just vanish because we ignore it.
Exactly. Yeah. Which leads to the consequences we often try to ignore until
Right.
they're screaming at us physically or, in our relationships.
So where does it go? All that stopped energy.
Well, often it goes straight into the body.
Yeah.
It becomes physical rigidity. The body becomes the storage unit for everything unsaid and unfelt.
Yeah.
Like chronic stiffness in your neck and shoulders. That feeling of literally carrying the weight of the world, or that knot below the ribs, that tight solar plexus that just never seems to fully release because it's guarding all this unprocessed anxiety.
Jaw clenched.
TMJ, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you're holding back words, holding back a boundary you need to set, the energy doesn't just dissipate, it sort of crystallizes, turns into physical symptoms, pain.
Does that also explain, that low-level irritability, that feeling of being constantly on edge. I remember reading that suppressed energy can come out as anger, kind of sideways.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the exhaustion itself can mask a deeper, unprocessed rage. So, you bite your tongue during a frustrating meeting, you hold it all in, and then later, you snap at your partner or your kids over something tiny. The pressure cooker just found a release valve, but it wasn't the right one.
And if we block it during the day, does the subconscious try to deal with it at night? Is that where those dreams come from?
Very often, yes. Those incredibly frustrating dreams, the ones where you're running desperate to escape, but your legs are like lead.
Oh, I hate those.
Or you need to scream, maybe a warning, but no sound comes out. Your system is trying, in the dream state, to complete the action, the mobilization, the expression that it wasn't allowed to during the day.
Wow, okay. And the cost isn't just physical or internal, right? It hits our relationships hard too.
Absolutely. This constant emotional unavailability, even if we don't mean it, it creates distance. You can be physically present with people you love.
But you're not really there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You feel lonely, even in a crowded room, maybe especially with loved ones, because the real you, the messy, needy, authentic you is locked away. You're there in form, but emotionally absent. And that absence creates this, invisible wall, a chasm.
And the terrible irony is that distance just feeds the original fear, doesn't it? The fear that if they really saw us, they'd leave.
It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, in a way.
Which brings us to what I think is maybe the deepest layer of this whole thing. The fear isn't just about the feeling itself, the falling apart moment. It's the fear of what happens after.
Yes. We project this catastrophic aftermath. We imagine all the terrible consequences if we were truly honest, truly vulnerable.
Like what? What are those projected fears?
Oh, they can be very practical. What if I let myself be messy and I lose my job or my professional reputation?
Right. What if I admit I'm burned out and my partner thinks I'm weak and leaves me?
What if I actually cry in front of my team? Will they lose respect for me? Will they stop seeing me as a leader?
Or just the fear that your truth, your tears, your actual need, it'll just be too much for people.
Too heavy, too inconvenient, too raw, that they won't be able to handle it.
And that judgment, that ultimate abandonment, that's what we're really guarding against. It dictates a whole lifetime of self-censorship based on this deep belief that our softness, our vulnerability, is a dangerous liability.
That core belief. If they see the real me, the vulnerable me, they will reject me, and that rejection will destroy me. That's the bedrock. That's the foundation for all the control strategies we build. So yeah, we armor up, we build these defenses against that expected rejection, and we take this control strategy, which is born out of fear, and we rebrand it.
We give it better PR.
Exactly. We call it strength, we call it maturity, we call it being responsible. We convince ourselves and maybe others that this kind of rigid, controlled way of being is what it means to be a functional adult.
But underneath that polished surface, the source material calls it a quiet, constant, humming fear that lives in your bones. I thought that was powerful.
It is, because it acknowledges that it's always there, even when things look fine on the outside. It's this background hum of anxiety.
And the belief is, if that emotional dam ever cracks, if we let even a little bit of that grief or need or rage seep out,
then everything floods.
Yeah.
Everything we've built, the reputation, the life, the carefully constructed identity, it'll all just wash away in the chaos.
Yeah, chaos, that's the word.
But here's where things start to shift. Here's the critical reframe. What if the dam isn't actually holding back chaos?
Okay.
What if it's holding back you,
Yeah.
your authentic self, your spontaneity, your aliveness?
So the control isn't protecting you?
What if it's imprisoning you? What if the armor is actually a cage? Seeing it that way. Well, it changes everything. It moves the conversation from potential failure to potential liberation.
Okay, so if the armor is a cage, how do we start to unlock it? Where do we begin?
I think with presence,
It's-
just simple presence. Instead of the usual rush to fix the feeling or solve the problem or just make the discomfort go away.
Which is the control instinct kicking in again.
Right. The invitation is simply to pause and to notice without judging it. Just notice what's actually happening.
And where's the best place to notice? The mind races.
The body. Always the body first. The mind is brilliant at telling stories, editing reality. The body. Well, the body usually tells the truth. So the first step is just locating the experience physically.
Yeah.
Right now, as you're listening, maybe check in. Where is the tightening?
Is it like a pressure in the chest, that squeezing feeling?
Could be. Or a churning in your stomach, like dread, maybe a tightness in your throat that makes it hard to speak.
Or even clenching in your hands or feet, things you don't normally notice.
Exactly. And the key instruction here is don't analyze it yet. Don't label it good or bad. Just feel it. Feel the weight of it, the texture, the sensation, without pushing it away. That brings it out of the abstract realm of the mind and into the concrete reality of the present moment.
Grounding it.
Yes, grounding it. And then, once we've located it, we can start to shift the kind of questions we ask ourselves. We move away from the critical problem-solving question.
How do I make this stop?
Right. Away from that, towards a more curious, gentle question like, okay, what is this feeling actually trying to tell me? And maybe even deeper, what am I so afraid will happen if I just let this feeling be here, if I let it move?
That curiosity, that gentle listening, it's the complete opposite of the controlling instinct, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And from there, we can start to connect the dots, connect this present sensation back to past learning. Like, when was the first time you learned that showing your need or your sadness was somehow dangerous?
Who taught you that? Maybe implicitly.
Exactly. Who taught you your feelings were a burden? And we can look back at that old decision, that survival strategy you created back then.
When maybe you were small and didn't have many options.
Right. And ask, gently, is this old strategy born out of necessity when I was, say, 9 years old?
Yeah.
Is it still actually serving the adult me right here, right now?
Chances are it's outdated.
Profoundly outdated.
Yeah.
Because the adult you has resources, choices, strengths that the child absolutely did not have. And this leads to a really fundamental, hopeful assertion. Okay, the moment you truly allow yourself to feel what you've been holding back, not to fix it, not to explain it away, not to banish it, but just to witness it, to be with it.
Just let it be there.
Yes. Something significant shifts in your whole system. That grip of control, it starts to soften.
So it stops being this automatic, fear-based reaction.
Exactly. It stops being a cage and starts becoming a conscious choice, moment by moment. You move from that desperate feeling of, I must hold this back or I'll collapse, to something more like, okay, I can feel this is intense, and I still get to choose how I respond. There's a sovereignty in that.
That feels like breathing again.
It is. It's realizing you don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You just have to be present with yourself.
Okay, this shift in perspective from controlling to allowing, it seems to lead us into a really helpful way of understanding how we get stuck. A framework.
Yes, and it's a deeply compassionate one, I find. It comes largely from Gestalt thinking.
And the core idea is, you're not broken.
No, you are not broken. You are fundamentally interrupted.
Interrupted. Explain that.
It means those strategies you developed, the armor, the control, they weren't flaws. They were brilliant. They were courageous ways your younger self found to survive difficult situations.
Okay, so they were necessary then.
Absolutely. The problem is they're now outdated. They're running on autopilot in the present, and they're actually keeping the adult you stuck. They're interrupting your natural flow now.
So to understand the interruption, we need to understand the flow itself. What's supposed to happen?
Exactly. We need to look at the natural, organic cycle that every emotion, every impulse, every need is designed to move through. It's called the cycle of experience. Think of it as the biological default setting for moving from an inner need to getting it met, or at least expressed in the world.
And when that cycle completes?
The system rests. It finds resolution. When it gets blocked or interrupted, that's when we get stuck.
Okay, could you walk us through that cycle? Knowing the steps might help us see where we personally tend to get stuck.
Sure. It generally unfolds in about 6 stages. It starts with 1, sensation. Just a physical stirring, the very first biological whisper that something's happening or something's needed.
Like a flutter in the stomach, maybe?
Could be. Then comes 2, awareness. You notice the sensation, you start to give it meaning. Oh, that flutter, I think I'm feeling nervous. Or, I'm aware of an impulse to say no right now.
Okay, sensation, then awareness.
Then 3, mobilization. Energy starts to rise in your system. Your body prepares for action. Maybe a slight tensing, getting ready to move or speak or cry.
The engine are revving up.
Kind of,
Right.
which leads to 4, action. This is the behavior itself. You actually reach out for comfort, you speak the no, you let the tears fall, you express the frustration, you do the thing the energy mobilized for.
Got it.
5, contact. This is where your action meets the world or another person or even just yourself fully. The boundary gets heard, the tears felt, the need is spoken. There's an interaction. And finally, 6, resolution, completion, rest. The energy discharges. The need has been met, or at least fully expressed and acknowledged. The cycle completes, and your system can return to a state of rest or homeostasis until the next sensation arises.
Okay, that makes sense as a natural flow. So, for someone who learned that feeling itself is dangerous, where does the interruption usually happen? Where does the control kick in?
For people who rely heavily on control, the interruption almost always happens somewhere between mobilization and action.
So the energy starts to rise.
Yes, the energy rises, you feel that urge, that impulse to speak or move or feel, but before you can actually take the action, the protective system slams on the brakes.
The internal stop not safe message.
Exactly. Suppress. Shut it down. Sometimes it even happens before awareness fully forms. You just feel a vague discomfort and immediately distract yourself.
And how do we do that? What are the ways we interrupt ourselves? They're subtle, aren't they?
Very subtle, often automatic. We might literally freeze the body. Just stop moving. Or we numb the sensation maybe by scrolling endlessly on our phone or throwing ourselves into work.
Or we rationalize it away super quickly.
Yes, minimize it. Tell ourselves, oh, it's not that big a deal, or I shouldn't be feeling this, or I just need to be stronger.
That rationalizing, the intellectualizing, it's a powerful block.
It's hugely powerful because it stops the energy right before step forward, before action. And the really crucial part is the feeling, the need, the impulse. It doesn't just evaporate when we interrupt the cycle.
It gets stuck.
It gets stuck because the energy was mobilized, the engine revved up, but it never got to complete its journey. It never discharged.
And that stuck energy, is that what gets called unfinished business?
That's exactly it. It's not some mystical concept. It's simply business that never got finished, cycles that were interrupted.
So it's the unfelt feeling.
The unfelt feeling, the unspoken word, the boundary you swallowed instead of setting, the cry that got choked back. And because that energy is essentially frozen in your system,
It demands attention somehow.
it demands attention, often in really indirect and disruptive ways. It leaks out sideways.
How does that show up, like, in daily life?
Well, it can manifest as that chronic low-grade tension we talked about in the shoulders, the jaw. That's often the residue of unexpressed frustration or fear.
Okay.
It can show up as profound exhaustion because you're literally carrying the energetic weight of all this unfinished stuff, sometimes from decades ago.
That makes sense.
It can lead to seemingly irrational irritability or those sudden floods of tears that seem to come out of nowhere over something small. The dam just finally breaks under accumulated pressure.
Right. The trigger is small, but the reservoir is full.
Precisely. Or, and this is a big one, rage that gets directed at the wrong target. You couldn't express anger safely towards the person who violated a major boundary, so it finally erupts at someone safer, like your partner or your kids, over something minor.
Wow. Okay. Those are all signs of that frozen, unlived energy looking for a way out.
Exactly. And to manage living with all this unfinished business, we develop these really elaborate mechanisms of avoidance, our go-to survival strategies.
The ways we keep interrupting ourselves.
Yes. And recognizing your own default strategy, your primary way of avoiding difficult feelings or situations, that's incredibly powerful. It's like finding the key to the pattern. It tells you exactly how you're currently keeping yourself stuck.
Okay. The source material identifies 5 common ones. Can we look at those? Because sometimes they just feel like personality traits.
They often do. That's why naming them is helpful. Let's go through them. The first is intellectualizing.
Turning feelings into thoughts.
Basically, yes. It's a strategy of taking raw, messy, painful emotional experience and turning it into an interesting, complex puzzle to be solved intellectually.
So you analyze it instead of feeling it.
Right. If you can analyze why you feel hurt, maybe chart out the psychological dynamics, you don't actually have to feel the hurt itself. You might spend hours researching attachment theory after a painful interaction with a parent. Instead of just allowing yourself to feel the sadness or anger, the feeling gets neatly filed away, labeled, and ultimately avoided.
Okay. I can see that one. What's next?
The second is one many people struggle with: pleasing, or sometimes called confluence.
Saying yes when you mean no.
That's a big part of it. It's blurring or even collapsing your own needs and boundaries to merge with someone else's, all to maintain a feeling of peace or safety or to guarantee you'll be liked or loved.
Avoid conflict at all costs.
At all costs. The cost, of course, is betraying yourself. And it keeps you stuck because you never make genuine contact with your own distinct needs or truths. You don't even know what they are sometimes.
Right. Okay, number 3.
Withdrawing. This is sort of the opposite of pleasing in action, but it achieves the same goal: safety through avoidance.
How does withdrawing work?
It's about disappearing emotionally. If showing up authentically with your real feelings, your real opinions, feels too risky, like it might cause trouble or rejection.
Then it's safer to just check out.
Exactly. Be physically present, maybe, but internally absent, numb, behind an invisible wall. People might find you hard to connect with, hard to read, because that internal switch is flipped to off to protect the vulnerable self inside.
Got it. Okay, number 4 often looks like success on the outside, right? Performing.
Yes, this one can be very deceptive.
Yeah.
Performing is becoming who you believe others want you to be.
The perfect student, the cheerful colleague, the competent leader, the easygoing friend.
Whatever the role requires. Polished, non-threatening, capable. The real self, with its flaws and uncertainties and messy feelings, is kept hidden backstage.
Because the performer is terrified that if people saw the real them,
they wouldn't be acceptable. They'd be too much or not enough. The performer lives in constant fear of being discovered without their script, without the mask.
Exhausting. And finally, number 5, the one we started with, controlling.
Controlling. This is really the master strategy for trying to manage the external world because you're terrified of your internal world collapsing.
Micromanaging everything.
Every detail. Your schedule, your environment, how others perceive you, maybe even how others feel or behave. Yeah. The underlying belief is, if I can just keep all the external pieces perfectly in place, then the internal chaos I'm so afraid of won't break through.
But life isn't controllable like that.
Fundamentally, no.
Yeah.
So it's a relentless, exhausting, and ultimately futile attempt to manage the unmanageable.
Wow, seeing them laid out like that, intellectualizing, pleasing, withdrawing, performing, controlling, it's crucial to remember these aren't character flaws we should beat ourselves up about.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
They were brilliant adaptations. They were loyal protectors. They kept a younger version of you safe in circumstances where you likely had little power. But now for the adult you, living in potentially very different circumstances, these same strategies are the very things blocking you from real connection, real intimacy, and just real aliveness. They're interrupting the flow. So the way forward, the path to completing those interrupted cycles, involves understanding this dynamic between what Gestalt calls the figure and the ground.
Okay, what does that mean here?
The figure is the thing that's trying to emerge right now. It's the impulse, the feeling, the need that's bubbling up. Maybe the urge to cry or to say no or ask for help. It's what wants attention.
And the ground.
The ground is the context. It's the background noise, the old story, the habitual pattern, or that protective voice that immediately tries to push the figure back down. Don't cry now. Don't be difficult. You can handle this alone.
So the protector is part of the ground, trying to keep the figure from emerging.
Often, yes. And the path to freedom isn't about fighting that protector, trying to silence it. That just creates more internal conflict.
So what do we do instead?
It's more like a gentle two-step dance. First, you turn towards the protector, the ground. You acknowledge it. You might even say internally, thank you. I see you're trying to keep me safe, just like you always have. You did a really good job back then when I needed it. You honor its intention, its loyalty.
Acknowledge its role.
Yes. And then, having honored the protector, you gently turn your attention back to the figure, that trembling feeling, that unspoken need, and you offer it presence. You say, okay, I see you now too. You don't have to hide anymore. It's okay for you to be here.
So you're not trying to get rid of the fear or the protector, you're just making space for the feeling alongside it.
Exactly. It's about integration, not elimination. This internal dialogue helps to unfreeze that stuck energy without starting an internal war.
And doing this, turning towards the feeling, it forces us to confront maybe the biggest obstacle, which is often based on projection, right?
Yes. That mechanism is huge in keeping us stuck. We project our past experiences onto the present situation, meaning we have this deep-seated fear. If I show my confusion, people will think I'm stupid. If I show I need help, they'll see me as weak or clingy. If I show my sadness, they'll pull away or reject me.
And that fear feels very real now.
It feels real now, but it's often rooted in history. We're projecting the reactions we actually received or feared we'd receive when we were younger and more vulnerable onto the people around us today.
We assume they will react the way we were treated back then, maybe shamed, dismissed, told our feelings were too much. We mistake the present context for the past trauma.
Precisely. And that projection keeps the fear alive and prevents us from testing reality now.
Which leads to the paradox of vulnerability.
Exactly. The risk-reward paradox. We will never know if people might actually surprise us, if they might meet our honesty with respect, our tears with tenderness, our uncertainty with understanding, unless we risk showing it.
And that risk has to start inside first.
It has to start with self-allowance. Giving yourself permission to feel what you feel before you even think about sharing it externally.
And the big realization here is, the feeling itself doesn't destroy you. Even intense fear, intense grief, it doesn't actually break you.
No. It feels like it might, but it doesn't. In fact, allowing it, moving through it, that's what frees you. Vulnerability isn't about losing control. It's about reclaiming a different kind of control.
Not control over external events.
No. Control over your own internal experience, your own truth. It allows that stuck energy to finally flow. The tension in your shoulders might release. The lump in your throat might dissolve. The hidden parts of you start to emerge into the light.
You trade the illusion of control for actual presence.
Presence, aliveness, authenticity. The tears don't make you weak. They make you human, real. The anger, when finally acknowledged and felt appropriately, connects you to your life force, your boundaries.
Okay, let's make this really practical. There's a metaphor mentioned, the doorway metaphor, as a technique for approaching this unfinished business. Can you explain that?
Yes, it's a powerful image. Imagine you're standing in front of a closed door. Just visualize it. And behind that door is everything you've been holding back, everything you've been too afraid to feel or acknowledge. It's that alive silence inside you, all the unfinished business.
Okay, I'm picturing the door.
Now, just stand there for a moment. Feel the presence of that door. Maybe reach out and feel the handle in your hand. And as you do, remind yourself, whatever is behind this door, it isn't a monster. It isn't proof of your failure. It's simply unlived life.
Unlived life. Impulses, feelings, needs that got interrupted.
Exactly. Now, the crucial action is simply to turn the handle. Slowly. And open the door, maybe just a crack at first. And step inside. Just one step over the threshold.
Okay, I'm inside. What now?
Now you just look. Whatever you encounter there, maybe it's a memory, maybe it's a wave of sadness, maybe it's a shaky feeling of need, maybe it's anger, you simply say to it internally, I see you.
I see you.
Just that.
Yeah.
That act of seeing, of acknowledging is everything. You don't need to rush in and fix it. You don't need to analyze it or explain it. You definitely don't slam the door shut again.
You just witness it.
You witness it. That simple, non-judgmental acknowledgement, I see you, is described as the first and perhaps most profound act of love and welcome you can offer to those abandoned parts of yourself. It reestablishes contact. It ends the internal exile.
And this is where true control lies.
This is where it begins. Real control isn't about muscling through or shutting down. It's about conscious choice. It's the capacity, moment by moment, to notice what's arising, to choose what needs presence, what needs holding, and maybe what can be gently released.
It's about dismantling that core belief.
The belief that you have to perform perfectly to be loved or have all the answers to be worthy. You don't. You just have to be willing to be present with your own experience.
So when that old fear comes up, the familiar tightening, the urge to control or withdraw,
You don't have to fight it. You can pause, maybe put a hand on your chest or your stomach, wherever you feel it, and you can say to that scared, protective part inside, okay, I feel you.
Yeah.
I'm here with you now. You don't have to carry this whole burden alone anymore.
Extending that same I see you to the fear itself.
Exactly. That simple act of presence, of inner companionship, is the quiet rebellion against a lifetime of holding it all together by yourself. It's the beginning of coming home. #outro.
Wow, okay. So this whole deep dive, it feels like it's really been about a fundamental shift, doesn't it? Moving away from the exhausting work of constantly managing our emotions.
And towards the more tender, more courageous practice of actually meeting them, meeting ourselves.
Yeah, and acknowledging that vulnerability, well, it is messy, it's uncertain, it can feel really raw, but maybe it's the only real path back to the person underneath all that armor, the alive self.
And that's the ultimate payoff, isn't it? Vulnerability doesn't make you weak. It makes you real. And there's something incredibly powerful about realness.
It's magnetic.
It's magnetic. It's connective. It's healing for ourselves and often for others too. When you stop performing, stop controlling, and allow even just a little bit of the trembling, uncertain, beautifully imperfect human to show, that's when real contact happens.
People lean in.
They lean in. They recognize something in you that resonates in them. They might say, me too, or thank you for sharing that. You trade that illusion of control for genuine connection. And connection. Well, that's what truly sustains us.
So maybe we can leave our listeners with an invitation, something to sit with, not a question to answer with your head maybe, but just to feel into. What might it feel like? Just imagine to trust that you will actually be okay. Not that the world will suddenly be perfect or safe, but that you, your core self, will be okay. Even if you were to let go of the tight grip, just a tiny bit, right now.
Just feel into that possibility.
Yeah.
And remember, if exploring that brings up resistance or fear or discomfort,
That's okay.
that's more than okay. Honor it. That resistance just means you're close to something important, something true. The protector is doing its job.
So just keep gently returning to your breath, to your body, to that quiet, steady presence within you.
You're not broken. You are becoming. Keep going.